In today's photography tutorial, I'm doing some ultraviolet mineral macro photography. That's three pretty niche subjects that we're going to approach as one. It's a really interesting subject, so stick around and I'll show you exactly what I mean in just a sec. Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux and welcome back to another macro photography tutorial where today, yes, we're approaching the much requested ultraviolet mineral macro photography. So we've done ultraviolet photography here on the channel before. We've also approached some mineral macro photography, and of course we do macro photography all of the time. So three different specialties all as one. We've gone out and purchased some minerals that I know react really nicely to our particular wavelength of ultraviolet light provided by the Adaptalux Studio ultraviolet lighting arms. So I'm going to be getting those lighting arms down onto these specimens of different types of minerals, and I'm going to show you those results. So first of all, let's take a look at some of the minerals that we're going to be looking at today. They're all going to look relatively uninteresting before we get some UV light onto them, but I promise you these are going to look amazing once the UV light is in play. First of all, we've got some Scapolite. This is from Quebec in Canada. It looks relatively plain, just a white greyish rock. Next up, we've got some Corundum from Tanzania. Again, this looks fairly uninteresting. It's little red rocks just here inside the bag. I think these are basically uncut rubies, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. And lastly, we have a nice rough sample of opal, which it looks really interesting, but it does just generally look like a bit of clear plastic or clear glass, so we're going to see how that changes under the UV light. Now, all of these have been provided by a company called Albion Fire and Ice, which I will link to in the description. So if you want some of these UV reactive minerals, I think they have an entire section on their website that you can go and pick some samples and do this for yourself. It does make a difference what kind of minerals you get. Not all minerals will do this, of course, so we're going to be taking a look at these three in particular because I know that they glow really nicely under UV light. So let's take a look at our macro photography setup for today, starting with the camera, which is a Sony a7 III with an f2.8 100mm TT Artisan macro lens on the front there. That's a 2x macro lens, so we will be able to get nice and close to our minerals, which I've placed on a little turntable. This is a Myops Capsule Pro with just a little table on the top of it there, so that we can rotate these without having to do that manually. That's going to make for some nice videos because I think we might actually be able to get some video footage out of these rocks. They are going to glow enough for that, which is pretty rare in UV photography. So I've placed my camera down here on a tripod along with a focus stacking rail because I do want to focus stack these shots and get as much detail as possible. Now, lastly, we have the Adaptalux Studio for our lighting, and this is the most important factor for this type of photography, the type of UV light that you're going to use. I've got two UV lighting arms plugged in here, and this is turned on. Now, of course, you can't actually see anything happening from these UV lights at all because I have some studio lights on, which is flooding this whole area with lots and lots of light. Now, I do have my windows and curtains closed preemptively. The room lights are off because I'm going to be doing all of this in pitch darkness. So why am I going to be turning out the lights and doing everything in the dark? Well, that's because of this specialist type of photography, UVIVF photography. That's ultraviolet induced visible fluorescence photography. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it means that we're going to be placing UV light onto our subject, and the subject will be creating its own visible light. Now, in order to see that glowing effect, we need to eliminate all of the visible light in the environment. That means your lamp, your video lights, any other visible lights that might be introduced into the scene. That light can easily overpower the glow from a subject like this. Now, in fact, our rocks are probably one of the most reactive subjects that I've ever photographed. Usually when you're photographing insects or plants with UVIVF photography, the glow isn't even bright enough to see with the naked eye. Today's subjects, though, that is a little bit different. So I've got my Scapolite sample here sat on the MyOps turntable, and we're going to be turning this in just a little while. But first of all, I wanted to show you the difference between our lighting and our UV lights. So at the moment, I've got a single white lighting arm that is illuminating this scene. All of my room lights are off so that I've got ultimate control over how much light is shining on our sample. And as you can see, it's a pretty dull grayish rock. However, if I connect my Adaptalux Studio to my app, I can start to adjust this. First of all, I'm going to start to bring up some of the UV lights. So first of all, that left-hand light, we're going to increase that up to 100%, and the right-hand UV light as well. Now, as you can see, the sample has started to glow. We're not getting the full effect here. I'm going to reduce that white light so that we can see a little bit more orange and less of the white light. Now, I'm actually not going to take away the white light entirely because this rock is glowing so brightly that we can afford a little bit of extra visible light in the scene, and I actually want some because the entire rock is not glowing. If I just rotate the turntable here a little bit, you'll see on the back side that some of this rock has some impurities, and I do actually want to capture a little bit of the detail on the non-glowing rock to give it a little bit of contrast. So if I turn the turntable and then bring up the white light a little bit more to expose that non-glowing rock as well, I think we have a really cool shot. If I just rotate it all the way around for you now, we can see that we've got some really interesting contrast between that glowing orange scapolite and the impurities in the rock that are just glowing, well, not glowing at all, rather, they're just that same plain whitish grey of the rock itself. So this is going to make for a really interesting exploration of these samples, looking at some of those impurities and exploring that mixture between UV light and the visible light that we can add because it's so reactive. So at this point in a UVIVF photography video, I'd usually be talking about camera settings. And that's because UVIVF would normally require a long exposure. The glow that you get from subjects like plants and insects is so minuscule that you will always have to do a long exposure, sometimes as long as 20 or 30 seconds. However, because these minerals are glowing so brightly, our settings are much better and far easier to work with. So I'm photographing on 1/25 of a second, ISO 4000 and f8. And that means that I can focus stack really easily. Usually a UV focus stack would take a very long time, doing 30-second exposures one after another, and with a macro lens you're usually very close and have a very shallow depth of field, but at f8 it means less photographs for our focus stack, and of course we need less time for each photograph. So my focus stacks are really easy today, far more comparable with a focus stack using visible light. Just to demonstrate exactly how reactive this rock actually is, I've turned on my video lights again, so it's, well, it's nice and bright in here, but we can still see that really nice orangey yellow glow of the scapolite. This is really unique. This is completely different to the UVIVF photography that I've done in the past, where if you had this much visible light, you simply wouldn't be able to see any of the glow from the subject. That's kind of demonstrated by the fact that those UV lights that we've got there are turned on, but of course on the surface there, you can't see any other indication that those UV lights are on. So you might ask, if our subject is as fluorescent as these ones seem to be, and we can see that fluorescence with our naked eye, why is it still important to use a pure UV light source and control the light contamination in the scene? Well, that is because we don't want to tint our subject, we don't want any weird colors, and one of the major things that UV LEDs provide is a lot of blue light. So your unfiltered LED is going to create a lot of UV light, but it's also going to create a lot of blue and violet light, and that can really offset your image and kind of ruin the look that we're going for. So I've got a cheap Amazon purchase here. This is a UV torch that has some UV lights. As you can see though, there is a lot of purple and blue light coming out of here. You can see that represented by this reflection here. You wouldn't be able to see this if this was pure UV light. However, you can also see it on our subject. That non-reactive area that we were talking about on our rocks is glowing sort of bluish purple. Now that is clearly not fluorescence. The fluorescence is the orange, which of course we can still see because there is some UV light being produced by this torch, but it's also contaminating the rest of our subject and our scene with blue and violet visible light. So although these torches are cheap and they are nice and powerful, they're just not suitable for accurate photography and photographing this kind of subject where you really want to show off the colors of the fluorescence without contaminating the scene with loads of blue and violet light. I'd highly recommend getting some pure UV light sources like the Adaptalux Studio UV lighting arms, which I will link down in the description so that you can go and check out a little bit more information and some of the other subjects that it's possible to photograph with a pure UV light source. So next up, I'm photographing my opal, which is glowing this brilliant bright green. It's a really interesting change from our previous subject because this one is transparent. It's almost like a little piece of glass, and that is creating this sort of inner glow from the green, which is really, really interesting. I am still using a little bit of visible light from our white lighting arm here because I want to add a few little highlights onto the surface of this subject, just to create that same sort of reference and contrast within the image. If you can't really tell what it is because it's just a big green blob, then it's really not that interesting, but capturing a few little highlights and reflections on the surface of this particular subject, it really gives you an indication that that green glow is coming from the subject itself and not from some external light source. And that really is what's happening. You need to understand that these UV lighting arms are not actually providing any light at all. The UV is invisible to our eyes and invisible to the camera. It's the subject itself glowing that is providing that color, and the lights have not changed between the last subject and this one. The color and the brightness is decided by the subject itself, and that is what I find so fascinating about UVIVF photography. So lastly, let's take a look at our corundum, which is, I think, the trickiest one to photograph out of the three minerals, simply because it's actually not changing color at all. It's simply the red of the corundum that is showing through when you're looking at it with your naked eye is the same stuff that glows. So the red just pops a lot more under the UV light, and it sort of glows from within. That means that we can't use our little white lighting arm trick to add some contrast. It does just look like a lot of red glow. Now that is interesting in and of itself because it means that there's not a lot of energy lost when the UV is absorbed and re-emitted. It's being re-emitted at the same wavelength as the reflected light from the visual spectrum. So really interesting in a science perspective, but I think a little bit less interesting from a photography perspective because we don't get to see that really interesting color change. It's not often that I will say that UV photography is easy. It's usually quite specialist and there is a bit of a barrier to entry. However, we're doing our best to try and lower that barrier to entry with our lighting arms, and I think this might be the subject that I will recommend going forward as the one that you should try out first, simply because the amount of fluorescence that you get from these three minerals, the opals, the corundum and the scapolite, they really glow quite brightly. You don't have to remove yourself too much from your usual camera settings, and of course you don't have to be quite as strict with your control of the visual light contamination in your shooting space. That makes this a really cool shoot to try out UV photography for the first time. I will link down in the description to further reading on UV lights, where to get these lights, and of course there's lots more UV photography tutorials right here on the channel so that you can find out how to photograph this same effect using flowers, plants and all sorts of other interesting subjects. Now, I'd like to know from you guys whether or not you enjoyed this type of photography shoot. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more UV minerals or other UV subjects. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and learned something, and make sure to hit subscribe for lots more macro photography tutorials, ideas and inspiration coming in the future. For now, that is all I've got time for. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.